On a quiet morning in the office, while organizing the notes from the previous day, I received Mrs. Eleanor Thompson, a 72-year-old woman who arrived discreetly for her appointment. With a shy but determined expression, she took a deep breath before starting to talk about something that had been troubling her for months. As a urologist and andrologist for 15 years, I've learned that each patient brings not only physical concerns, but also an emotional burden that needs to be met with respect and understanding. "Doctor, I don't even know where to begin," she said, nervously adjusting her purse on her lap. I realized that this moment required more than medical knowledge. It demanded sensitivity to address a topic still surrounded by taboos, especially for someone of her generation. With a welcoming smile, I offered her a glass of water and shared that many of my patients faced dilemmas similar to hers. Gradually, Mrs. Eleanor Thompson began to open up. Widowed for 3 years, she discovered that her desires and physical needs remained present, but she felt confused and even guilty about it. "Is it normal to feel these things at my age?" she asked with teary eyes. That seemingly simple question carried decades of prejudice and silence about sexuality in later life. As a healthcare professional, I have observed a significant increase in the number of elderly patients seeking guidance on their intimate lives. Society evolves, and with it, our understanding of aging also transforms. The notion that older people should relinquish their sexuality is not only outdated, but also harmful to physical and emotional health. During our conversation, I explained to Mrs. Eleanor Thompson that self-awareness and self-stimulation are natural and healthy aspects of human sexuality, regardless of age. "The body changes, but it remains our temple of pleasure and well-being," I commented, observing how her features began to soften. I shared with her recent studies that demonstrate how masturbation in later years can contribute to maintaining genital health, blood circulation, and the production of beneficial hormones. With each explanation, I realized I wasn't just sharing medical information, but also helping to dismantle years of taboos and prejudices. Mrs. Eleanor Thompson began to feel more comfortable asking specific questions about the changes in her body and how to handle them in a healthy and pleasurable way. "You know, doctor, I never imagined I could have this conversation with someone," she confided, now more relaxed. "I always thought these feelings at my age were wrong." This confession reflects a common mindset among many older adults who often feel pressured to deny their sexuality due to outdated social expectations. I explained that sexuality is an integral part of being human, accompanying us throughout our lives, manifesting in different ways at each stage. In old age, self-awareness can become a powerful tool for reconnecting with one's body and a source of physical and emotional well-being. At the end of that initial consultation, I noticed a significant change in Mrs. Eleanor Thompson's demeanor. Her shoulders were more relaxed, her gaze more confident. She had taken the first step on a journey of self-discovery and acceptance that many of my elderly patients also experience. This encounter made me reflect on how many other elderly individuals silently live through the same conflicts, without anyone to share their doubts and anxieties with. As a healthcare professional, I see that my role goes beyond technical knowledge. It includes being a bridge for these individuals to reconnect with themselves, free from judgment and prejudice. Mrs. Eleanor Thompson's story is just one among many that demonstrate how society still needs to evolve and how it views sexuality in old age. It is essential to understand that pleasure and self-awareness have no age limit, and that maturity can be a time of rediscovery and new ways of experiencing one's own sexuality. In the weeks following Mrs. Eleanor Thompson's first consultation, I dedicated myself to further deepening my studies on the physical and emotional benefits of self-stimulation in later life. As a physician, I always strive to base my guidance on solid scientific evidence, and the results of the most recent research are truly impressive. During our second consultation, Mrs. Eleanor Thompson arrived more confident, bringing a list of questions written in her notebook. This interest in learning more about her own body particularly pleased me. We then began a detailed conversation about how self-awareness can contribute to healthier and more pleasurable aging. Regular practice of self-stimulation, I explained, has direct benefits for physical health. It stimulates blood circulation in the genital region, which is crucial for maintaining tissue elasticity and preventing vaginal atrophy, a common concern among women of your age. Mrs. Eleanor Thompson listened attentively, making occasional notes. The benefits, however, extend far beyond the physical aspect. The release of endorphins during sexual pleasure acts as a natural painkiller, helping to reduce joint and muscle pain, which is common at this stage of life. Additionally, orgasm releases oxytocin, known as the well-being hormone, which has positive effects on mood and can help combat states of anxiety and melancholy. "But doctor," asked Mrs. Eleanor Thompson, "can't this be harmful to the heart?" This is a common concern among my elderly patients. I explained that, for people with stable health, self-stimulation is a safe activity. In fact, it can even contribute to cardiovascular health, as it represents a mild form of exercise that increases heart rate in a gradual and controlled manner. During our conversation, we also addressed the benefits for sleep. Many elderly individuals face difficulties sleeping, and masturbation can be a natural ally in this regard. The release of hormones during orgasm promotes deeper and more restorative sleep, without the need to resort to medication. "You know, doctor," shared Mrs. Eleanor Thompson, "since we started having these conversations, I've been feeling more energetic, lighter." This account didn't surprise me. Reconnecting with one's body through self-awareness often brings a renewed sense of vitality and overall well-being. A particularly important aspect we discussed was the issue of autonomy. In later years, maintaining control over one's pleasure can be a powerful way to preserve independence and self-esteem. It's a way to reaffirm that, regardless of age, every person has the right to pleasure and self-discovery. I shared with her studies that show how regular self-stimulation can strengthen the pelvic floor muscles, contributing to the prevention of urinary incontinence, a common concern among the elderly. "It's like a form of exercise," I explained, "which, in addition to being pleasurable, brings concrete health benefits." As our conversation deepened, I noticed how Mrs. Eleanor Thompson became more comfortable asking specific questions about techniques and care. I explained the importance of hygiene, the use of appropriate lubricants, and creating a safe and private environment for the practice of self-discovery. "One question, doctor." She hesitated briefly. "Is there a particular time of day that's better?" I clarified that there are no strict rules about this. The important thing is to choose moments when you feel comfortable and relaxed, without rushing or worrying about interruptions. We concluded that consultation by discussing how self-awareness can be a valuable tool for understanding the natural changes in the body with aging. Knowing your own body, I emphasized, helps us identify important changes that may require medical attention. As she said goodbye, Mrs. Eleanor Thompson seemed lighter and more confident. "I never imagined that taking care of myself could be so important for my health," she said, with a serene smile. That moment confirmed for me how the right information can transform lives, dismantling fears and prejudices that often prevent us from living fully. Over the following months, my practice became an increasingly sought-after space for seniors looking for guidance on self-awareness and pleasure. Mrs. Eleanor Thompson's story had inspired other patients to share their own experiences and questions. Among them, I met Mr. Robert, a 68-year-old gentleman, brought up important questions about the emotional and practical challenges faced on this journey of self-discovery. "Doctor, ever since my wife fell ill, I've been feeling very lonely," he shared, visibly uncomfortable. "But I feel guilty when I think about seeking pleasure on my own." This confession opened the door to a crucial discussion about how to handle the complex emotions that arise during this process. In our conversation, we addressed how cultural and religious taboos can create significant emotional barriers. Many of my patients grew up in a time when sexuality was a forbidden topic, especially within the family context. This cultural legacy can lead to feelings of shame and inadequacy that need to be carefully addressed. "You are not alone in this feeling," I assured Mr. Johnson. "Robert, I explained how common it is for people of your generation to carry this emotional burden but that it is possible to develop a healthier relationship with one's own sexuality. The process of self-care and self-discovery can be a way to honor your own body and well-being. A particular challenge that arose in our conversations was the issue of having adequate space for the practice of self-discovery. Many elderly individuals live with family members or caregivers, which can create situations of embarrassment or lack of privacy. We discussed practical strategies to ensure moments of respectful intimacy, such as setting aside reserved times for oneself and clearly communicating the need for privacy. Another important aspect we addressed was adapting to the natural physical changes of aging. "Sometimes my body doesn't respond like it used to," shared Mr. Johnson. Robert, expressing a common concern among my elderly patients. I explained that these changes are normal and that self-awareness can help discover new forms of pleasure adapted to the current phase of life. During our sessions, we also discussed the importance of establishing healthy boundaries. Some patients, upon discovering the benefits of self-stimulation, may develop a dependency on the practice. It is crucial to find a balance that promotes well-being without interfering with daily activities or social interactions. "How do I know if I'm not overdoing it?" asked a patient during a follow-up consultation. I explained that the key is to observe whether the practice is positively contributing to their quality of life, or if it is becoming a way to escape from other issues that need to be addressed. For those in relationships, specific questions arise about how to integrate self-awareness into married life. Some fear that the practice might negatively affect intimacy with their partner. "I talked to my wife about it," shared Mr. Robert Johnson in a follow-up consultation. "It was difficult at first, but it brought us even closer." This openness to dialogue is essential. I encourage my patients to develop honest communication with their partners, when present, about their needs and desires. Self-awareness does not replace shared intimacy, but it can enrich it, providing greater awareness of one's own body and preferences. A delicate aspect that often arises in consultations is the fear of social judgment. Many patients fear that family or friends will discover their practice of self-awareness. We work together to develop a more secure and confident stance regarding their personal choices, understanding that self-care is a fundamental right at any age. "You know, doctor," reflected Mr. Robert Johnson in our last consultation during that period, "I realized that taking care of myself is not a reason for shame. It's a way to keep myself alive and present." This shift in perspective is one of the most rewarding aspects of my work as a physician. The challenges faced by my elderly patients on their journey of self-awareness are varied and complex, but seeing them overcome fears and prejudices, reclaim their autonomy, and discover new forms of pleasure is deeply inspiring. Every story of overcoming reinforces the importance of maintaining a welcoming and professional space for these much-needed conversations. With the significant increase in elderly patients seeking guidance on self-stimulation, I developed a comprehensive set of practical recommendations and essential care tips. On a particularly busy afternoon, I organized a small discussion group in my office, where I could share this information in a more structured way. The first step to a safe and pleasurable practice is proper hygiene, I began explaining to the group. I detailed the importance of proper hand washing, keeping nails trimmed and clean, and using appropriate hygienic products for the intimate area. For many present, these basic guidelines already represented a significant change in their self-care habits. The issue of environment also deserved special attention. Choose a comfortable and safe location, I advised. An environment where they can feel relaxed and protected from interruptions. For those with mobility limitations, I suggested practical adaptations, such as the use of support cushions and organizing the space to prevent accidents. A topic that always raises many questions is the use of lubricants. In later years, it is natural for the body to produce less natural lubrication, I explained. Therefore, the use of water-based lubricants is highly recommended. I provided specific guidance on how to choose suitable products, emphasizing the importance of avoiding substances that could cause irritation or allergies. During our conversation, One lady raised an important question about the use of medications and their possible interactions with the practice of self-awareness. Some medications can affect libido or sensitivity, I clarified, but that doesn't mean we have to give up pleasure. We discussed the importance of maintaining open communication with healthcare professionals about all aspects that affect our quality of life. The room temperature and the time of day were also topics we covered. I recommended choosing times when they felt most energetic and alert, avoiding periods right after meals or moments of extreme fatigue. Self-awareness should be a pleasurable experience, not an obligation, I emphasized. For those with arthritis or hand limitations, I presented possible alternatives and adaptations. There are products specifically designed for people with reduced mobility, I explained, always maintaining a professional and welcoming tone. Ergonomics and comfort are essential for a safe and satisfying experience. One aspect I made sure to address was the importance of regular self-examination during the practice of self-awareness. Take these moments to get to know your body better, I suggested. Any unusual changes should be reported to your doctor. This body awareness can be a valuable tool for the early detection of health issues. The question of rhythm and intensity also deserved special attention. Each person has their own pace and their own needs, I explained. There is no correct frequency. What matters is respecting the signals from your body. This personalization of the practice is essential to ensure a positive and beneficial experience. During our conversation, questions arose about the use of specific accessories and products. I approached the topic with ease, providing guidance on hygiene, safe materials, and necessary precautions. Safety always comes first, I emphasized, recommending certified and age-appropriate products. An important point we discussed was the need to maintain a journal of sensations and experiences. Write down how you feel before and after the practice, I suggested. This helps identify patterns and adjust the routine according to your needs. This mindful self-observation can significantly contribute to a more satisfying experience. We concluded our meeting by talking about the importance of maintaining a routine of gentle exercises and stretches, which can improve flexibility and overall physical conditioning. Self-care goes beyond moments of pleasure, I explained. It is a full commitment to your well-being. The group's response to these guidelines was extremely positive. I realized how clear and practical information, presented in a respectful and professional manner, can make a significant difference in these people's lives. Proper knowledge is a powerful tool for promoting autonomy and well-being in old age. After months of care and follow-up with various elderly patients, I was able to witness truly inspiring transformations. On a special morning, I organized a meeting with a select group of patients who agreed to share their experiences, aiming to inspire others who were still at the beginning of this journey of self-discovery. Mrs. Eleanor Thompson, whom we met at the beginning of this narrative, was the first to share her progress. When I first came to the office, she began, I could barely talk about the subject. Today, I feel like a different person, more connected with myself. Her emotional account showed how self-awareness had become a powerful tool for personal transformation. Mr. Robert Johnson, who previously struggled with feelings of guilt, also shared his experience. I realized that taking care of myself isn't selfish, he reflected. It's a way to stay active and vital. His story resonated especially with other men in the group who were still facing similar challenges. One of the most impactful stories came from Mrs. Margaret Williams, 75, who initially sought help to cope with loneliness after 50 years of marriage. At first, I thought I would never feel pleasure in life again, she shared. But I learned that our bodies remain alive and capable of feeling, regardless of age. During our meeting, I noticed how each shared story helped break down another layer of taboo and prejudice. An 82-year-old participant shared how self-awareness helped her overcome chronic insomnia without the need for medication. I discovered a natural way to relax and sleep better, she explained with a serene smile. The impact on physical health was also a recurring theme in the stories shared. Several participants reported significant improvements in issues such as blood pressure, muscle tension, and overall energy levels. My doctor noticed the difference in my routine checkups, one participant shared, demonstrating how sexual well-being is directly linked to overall health. A particularly touching story came from a couple, both in their 70s, who learned to integrate self-awareness into their married life. We rediscovered our intimacy in a way we never thought possible, the wife shared, each respecting their own time and space, but also sharing experiences. The group also discussed how self-awareness helped them develop a more positive relationship with their aging bodies. I stopped demanding myself to have the body of my youth, one lady shared. I learned to value and respect my current body, with all its marks and stories. Among the stories, the theme of regained autonomy emerged. Many shared how they felt more independent and confident in various aspects of their lives, not just in the realm of sexuality. It's as if I had recovered a part of myself that was dormant, reflected one participant. The stories also revealed how self-awareness had become a tool for coping during difficult times. One participant shared how the practice helped her deal with anxiety during periods of social isolation. I learned to be present with myself in a way I had never experienced before, she explained. As a physician, it was rewarding to observe how each person had found their own way to integrate self-awareness into their routine. Some preferred moments in the morning, others at night. Some developed specific self-care rituals, while others maintained a more spontaneous approach. The gathering also served to demystify common concerns. More experienced participants were able to reassure the newcomers about initial fears and anxieties. In the beginning, I also had many doubts, shared one gentleman. But with proper guidance and respecting my own pace, I discovered a new world of possibilities. As the meeting drew to a close, I realized how that space of sharing had become therapeutic in itself. The stories of overcoming and transformation served as beacons of hope for others who were still beginning their journey of self-discovery in their golden years. Reflecting on all the cases and experiences shared throughout this period, I become increasingly aware of how we are living through a moment of significant transformation in the way society views sexuality in later life. As a healthcare professional, I have the privilege of witnessing and contributing to this paradigm shift. In a recent lecture I gave to healthcare professionals, I shared how the approach to self-awareness in later life needs to evolve to keep up with demographic changes. Our population is aging, I explained to my colleagues, and with that, we need to develop new forms of care that address all dimensions of well-being, including the sexual one. The future of self-awareness in old age points to an increasingly integrative approach. It's not just about the physical dimension, but about a deep connection between body, mind, and emotions. The results I have observed in my patients demonstrate how this practice can be a powerful tool for personal transformation and maintaining vitality. During a meeting with gerontology experts, we discussed how the new generations entering old age bring a different mindset about sexuality and pleasure. We need to be prepared to meet these new demands, I shared with my colleagues. The taboo is being broken, and our role is to provide adequate support and quality information. An important aspect I have been observing is the need to develop specific educational materials for this audience. I have been working in partnership with other professionals to create booklets and guides that address the topic of self-awareness in a clear and respectful manner, tailored to the needs and realities of the elderly. Technology has also proven to be an important ally in this process. In my practice, I have been using audiovisual resources and specially developed apps to assist in the health education process. Information needs to be accessible and adapted to different realities, I always explain to my residents. One trend I have observed is the emergence of support groups and experience-sharing spaces. These safe environments, when well guided by qualified professionals, can be extremely beneficial for the process of acceptance and learning. Isolation is one of the greatest enemies of well-being in old age, I often say in my lectures. Continuing education for healthcare professionals is also crucial for the future of this field. I have dedicated part of my time to teaching courses and workshops for doctors, nurses, and other healthcare professionals, sharing experiences and care protocols we have developed over the years. An important discovery has been the correlation between self-awareness and the prevention of health issues. Patients who maintain a regular practice of self-awareness tend to develop a sharper bodily awareness, identifying early changes that require medical attention. The future also points to a more personalized approach to self-awareness. Each person has their own story, limitations, and preferences. Our role as healthcare professionals is to provide guidance and support so that everyone can find their own path safely and enjoyably. Scientific research in this area continues to advance, bringing new insights into the benefits of self-awareness in later life. I keep myself constantly updated by attending conferences and studies that expand our understanding of the topic. As I progress in my clinical practice, I become increasingly convinced that self-awareness in old age is more than a matter of pleasure. It is a fundamental tool for health and well-being. The future holds challenges, but also countless possibilities. To make this practice increasingly accessible and beneficial for our elderly. As I conclude this account, I recall Mrs. Eleanor Thompson's words during our last consultation. "Doctor, I've learned that it's never too late to rediscover oneself." This phrase perfectly encapsulates the message I wish to share with everyone who works with the elderly. Self-awareness is a continuous journey of discovery and growth, which can and should be experienced at every stage of life.